Welcome back. Former President Jacob Zuma wants Raymond Zondo's appointment as Chief Justice set aside. He's accused President Cyril Ramaphosa of appointing Zondo irrationally. The Council for the Advancement of the South African Constitution's Executive Secretary, Lawson Naidoo, joins us tonight to talk about this legal development. Lawson, a very good evening to you. Does the former president have a point?
Good evening, Tembekile. Thank you very much. Certainly not. I think this is clearly a case that has no prospects of success. It's brought incredibly late, nearly a year and a half after Zondo was appointed as Chief Justice. And a reading of the founding affidavit by the former president is replete with antagonism towards both President Ramaphosa as well as Chief Justice Raymond Zondo. He quotes at length, for example, from the reports of the State Capture Commission, which make serious findings against the former president. And it's quite clearly a political strategy rather than a legal one. It's abounds with irony in effect, because rather surprisingly, former President Zuma now lauds the principles of the supremacy of the Constitution, the importance of respecting the rule of law, and so on. Issues which he, very carefully was not so familiar with during his tenure as president. He also ignores the fact, sorry, Tembekile, that he himself, President Zuma, as president in 2017, appointed Raymond Zondo as the deputy chief justice.
And just on what he said, so he's taken issue, for example, with the appointment of Chief Justice Zondo on the basis that after the JSC interview process, it was Mandisa Maya, who was then head of the appeals court, who the commissioners felt should have been or was best placed to become the country's Chief Justice. But the president has been clear in saying that ultimately, even if such a recommendation is made to the office from that JSC process, he has the prerogative to go with a candidate of his choosing. What, though, is the limit on that prerogative? Is it limitless?
No, the discretion clearly resides with the president, and the Constitution makes that clear, that the president appoints the Chief Justice as well as the Deputy Chief Justice after consulting with the Judicial Service Commission, as well as with leaders of political parties that are represented in the National Assembly. And that's exactly what the president did on this occasion. But preceding the JSC process, the president also initiated a new process whereby he set up an independent panel that was headed by Judge Navi Pillay to guide and advise him on the candidates that might be suitable. There was a public call for nominations. Many nominations were received. That panel screened those nominations and submitted a report and shortlist to the president, which was then forwarded to the JSC. They then interviewed 4 candidates that the president gave to them, which was Judge Mandisa Maya, Deputy Chief Justice then Raymond Zondo, Justice Madlanga, as well as Judge President Dunstan Mlambo. And although the JSC recommended the appointment of Judge Maya as Chief Justice, the President is not bound by the recommendation of the JSC, and the JSC does not have the authority to appoint the Chief Justice. That clearly resides with the President, and he applied his own mind to the report and the candidates before him, and decided upon appointing Chief Justice Zondo. And one will recall further, Tembekile, that in the previous round of appointments as Chief Justice, when Jacob Zuma himself was president, he simply provided the JSC with one name, that of then Justice Mogoeng. And there was no opportunity for the JSC to then compare the relative merits of different candidates. So he effectively, on that occasion, usurped whatever authority that the JSC might have.
And to what extent, then, would the court that's going to hear this matter concern itself with the fact that the former president has a long, very well-documented history of legal squabbles with both men, where he's in fact been largely unsuccessful?
Well, I think looking on the papers, and certainly the founding affidavit so far, as I say, it's replete with references to the way that he's been treated unfairly both by President Zuma and by Chief Justice Zondo, both in the reports of the State Capture Commission, as well as in public comments that the Chief Justice has made subsequent to that. So this is quite clearly part of a personal vendetta, an attempt to seek revenge against the Chief Justice for the findings that he made against him, for the fact that when former President Zuma walked out of the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, he was found to be in contempt of court and subsequently sentenced to a term of imprisonment. So these are the underlying issues in the matter. He also brings into play the issue of the suspension of the former public protector, Cyril Ramaphosa. So it's quite clear that this is part of a legal strategy to try and embarrass both President Zuma and Chief Justice Zondo.
Lawson Naidoo, good to speak to you, KSAC Executive Secretary, speaking to us tonight on News at Prime.